In a world where humanity has divided itself into two groups, PC and Apple, one man stood his ground. One man stayed authentic. One man, Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955 in San Francisco, California. Because he was born out of wedlock and stigma of single parenthood was prevalent during the 1950s, within weeks of the birth of her child, the mother signed over the legal custody of the infant to an adoption agency. They in turn placed the infant with a working-class couple named Paul and Clara Jobs. Jobs' father, Paul, a mechanic, taught Steve how to make great things. Once they were building a fence, and Paul said, "You gotta make the back of the fence just as good looking as the front. Even though no one will see it, you will know, and that will show that you are dedicated to making something perfect." Jobs was raised in Northern California, not far from Palo Alto, an area populated with engineers. As a gifted child, he was interested in engineering from an early age. However, the counterculture of the 1960s influenced Jobs' spirit of nonconformity, questioning authority, and his determined nature. Jobs' early childhood adoption, his father's positive influence, and the fact that he was raised not far from Silicon Valley in the 60s serve as antecedents to him becoming an authentic leader.
The basis of authentic leadership is the ability to be self-aware. Steve Jobs' search for self-awareness started at a young age and developed to new heights during and after his trip to India. Before embarking on his trip to India, Jobs stated, "For me, it was a serious search. I'd been turned on to the idea of enlightenment and trying to figure out who I was and how I fit into things." On his journey through India, he observed the cultural differences and specifically noted their high level of intuition relative to their intellect. Upon his return, Jobs became fast friends with the Zen master Kobun Chino Otagawa. Through the practice of meditation and the teachings of Otagawa, Jobs was able to realize self-awareness.
In 1969, a mutual friend introduced Steve Jobs to Steve Wozniak. It would be in Steve Jobs' garage that they would co-found Apple. According to Wozniak, Jobs gets a reputation for being a strong leader and for being brash, but to me, he was always so kind, such a good friend. Relational transparency involves a leader being committed to helping others see both positive and negative aspects of themselves. His relationship with his Apple employees was indeed often characterized as being brutally honest. One employee stated, "He forced me to work harder, and in the end I did much better job than I would have otherwise." In 1983, Steve Jobs lured John Sculley to become Apple's new strategic CEO, but their dynamic partnership turned quickly into disagreement over how the company should be run, and by 1985, Steve Jobs was forced to resign. However, in 1996, Apple acquired Steve Jobs' Next Incorporated, and he soon stepped in as the new interim CEO of Apple. Another component of authentic leadership is the ability to have balanced processing, where the leader is able to evaluate and accept both positive and negative feedback, including attributes about themselves and their deficiencies as a leader. Steve Jobs was no stranger to self-criticism. When asked by his biographer, Walter Isaacson, why he felt the need to resort to such candid and oftentimes biting remarks, Jobs simply replied, "That's just who I am." Authentic leaders are also defined by their values and behaviors. To be authentic is to be true to the self and one's core values, and resist to social or situational pressures to compromise one's values. After Jobs returned from India, he learned to appreciate the beauty of simplicity. Throughout his career, his value for simplicity can be seen through Apple's product design. This is most notable in the first Macintosh mouse, which simplified the Xerox model to one button and made it ergonomically pleasant to use. Steve Jobs valued his beliefs almost to a fault. After being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, Jobs refused his doctor's recommendations for medical intervention for 9 months. Instead, Jobs consumed a pseudo-medicine diet in an attempt to defeat the cancer.
Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become.